If you think about the backbone as well, that links to the roots, and our roots are in our belly center. That's where the seat of intuition is. Whereas we coaching with the client, we connect to our clients not through the head, but you tune in such that you are one with the client, you feel what the client is feeling, you go beyond even, I would say, empathy. You get so compassionate that you only see that person and no one else.
Here we go, recording in progress.
Wonderful.
I see people are filing in already. We have 8, 10.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. It's good to see. It's good to feel you all. I can't see you yet, but it's good to feel everyone here. Please say hi in the chat, and I'd love to hear from you. I'm Neha. Hi, Akhil. Good to see you here as well. Asif, Jen. We have Nobantu here with us. That's our wonderful associate trainer who's been associated with Kocharya for a very, very long time, much longer than I have actually. And I'm very excited. This is the first time I'm talking to her and getting to know her. Perhaps some of you already know her. You may have actually seen her webinar on Ubuntu coaching, which is a framework that she herself has developed. And there's also a live coaching session embedded within the webinar. It's so wonderful and powerful. Guys, I would highly recommend that you check it out. And we actually have all of our coach trainees actually watch that webinar. It is embedded into our coaching foundation programs. It is that amazing and wonderful. Great. It's hi Vasundhara, Pavan, Matteo, Komal, hi. You can also let us know where you're tuning in from. Nobantu, I believe you're in South Africa, is that correct? Sorry, Nobantu, you are muted.
Tuning in from Pretoria in South Africa.
Awesome, awesome, great.
The belly of the earth.
Oh, okay, I see. Hi, Smita, good to see you, Pavan, great. It's lovely to be here. Today, we're going to be talking about coaching from your roots with Nobantu, coaching from your roots and heart. What a beautiful topic. What a beautiful topic, isn't it? I mean, even just, it sounds evocative. It sounds lovely. Before we begin, I was just chatting with Nobantu before we started this webinar, before we went live. And she was telling me about how, work from home, we were just chatting about work from home and how it's taking a toll on all of us a little bit. It's affecting us in different ways. In the beginning, it was nice. Oh, we don't have to commute. We can be in our pajamas. Oh, all these great things. But, we're all sort of hitting that point of burnout, or we've already hit it. And Nobantu, I'd love to hear from you. Would you mind sharing your experience with how that's been for you?
Thank you, Neha, and Sanibonani, everyone. That's a Zulu greeting. That means I see you. I see your ancestors. I see your strengths. I see your aspirations. I see your struggles too. Because in Africa, we never walk alone. I see so many people from South Africa. They are making me want to ululate.
Please do whatever you feel like doing, Nobantu. The floor is all yours, you know.
Thank you.
We can do anything we like.
Thank you. Thank you. So we were just chatting with Neha around the fact that, you know, with this virtual working and also having small businesses, there is that fear that goes with, am I going to have enough work? And also the fact that some of the trainings are not happening like in person. So there's a tendency I find within me, it's like I work right throughout, and it's a habit I need to kick, especially having my laptop in bed. And what I've found has been so helpful to me, and I hope people in this webinar have got a practice they have daily. I make sure, even if I don't have time, normally I sit and meditate for an hour. So I would have what is called M&Ms. You know those lovely sweets?
You're talking my language. I love sweets and I love M&Ms. Absolutely.
It's minute meditations, you know, instant meditations, like 1 minute, 10 minutes.
1 minute.
Of just touching base and really befriending and allowing your body to welcome you to inhabit it fully. And then when I do that, no matter how tired I feel, or I'm feeling that little bit of burning out, just that pause brings back some kind of, I would say, some remembering, bringing everything together. And with that, coupled with conscious breathing, taking deep in breaths, and also slowly breathing out. And when you're breathing, just counting in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in and hold. And then slowly breathing out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and hold. Continuing with that. And when you even want to increase the energy, when you breathe through the mouth and you get the breath into the belly, the same breath goes to the chest. And when you exhale, you even make a sound in through the belly, chest in, and one last one, in through the belly, chest, and wow. And nature's with us as well. There's some thunder rambling in the background to say yes, because we also believe in Africa that when you hear the thunder, there's rain, whatever you're doing in that moment, it's with Mother Nature's blessings. So I bless everyone and wishing everyone an amazing, wonderful year that's filled with coaching, with heart, and coaching from the roots. Because our roots are not here in the head. Our roots come deep from our belly. They come from the umbilical cord that connected us to our mothers. And everyone, even if you were abandoned, even if you were adopted, there was that connection through the umbilical cord to your mother. And just think about the ancestral connection that brings, because your mother was also connected to her mother and her mother to her mother. And when we get together in gatherings like these, I always tune in, I always picture a web, like a spider web, of the different umbilical cords that are a connection to everyone's ancestors. And as a result, by being together, coming from the heart, coming from our roots, that then connects us to each and everyone and each and everyone's ancestors. And this starts to stop non-duality or being separate from one another. That's the spirit of Ubuntu that would say, I truly am because we are. I cannot be fully me if you cannot be fully yourself. So as I come into coaching, it's not an intention, it's not an aspiration, it's the truth of the connection of humanity that we tend most of the time to ignore. We tend to separate each other. I'm the coach, I'm the MCC, I'm the PCC, I'm the ACC. I've got so many hours of coaching. Who cares?
Nobantu, I am already so energized and inspired by you. Thank you for your blessing for Mother Nature's, conveying Mother Nature's blessing to us as well. And for guiding us through just breathing. I mean, the power of the breath, right? I mean, it's so easy to forget and get so caught up in all the different things that are going on. There's so many different pressures that people are facing these days, and it's just a few breaths away, you know, like a better, more centered, more anchored, more rooted version of ourselves is always available to us, just a few breaths away. It's such a good reminder, such a beautiful reminder. So thank you for that. My friends, as you can see, this is going to be amazing. Please feel free to drop your questions into the chat box as we go along. Any questions for Nobantu, I will convey them to her. At this point, we have 96 people listening in Nobantu, since you had asked the number of people who would show up. Thank you everyone for joining us.
I'd like, before I even you can ask a question, I like what Smita says. She's saying just the grounding with the breathing gives energy and calmness. Because coaching from the roots, it's about that. It's about connecting to both our feminine and masculine energies. Connecting to the lunar energy and the solar energy, because we need, as is it Orion? That's not Orion. Coaching with heart and backbone.
Yeah. Coaching with heart, and can you say that again?
Heart and backbone.
And backbone.
Yes. Mm-hmm. How do you coach from a compassionate space? And also, at the same time, challenging our clients to be able to move forward and achieve what they set to do.
Is that what you mean by the dichotomy or the polarities of the masculine and feminine, or low?
Exactly. Because the feminine energy would come mainly from the heart, and the masculine energy would come from the backbone. If you think about the backbone as well, that links to the roots, and our roots are in our belly center. That's where the seat of intuition is. Whereas we coaching with the client, we connect to our clients, not through the head, but you tune in such that you are one with the client, you feel what the client is feeling. You go beyond even, I would say, empathy. You get so compassionate that you only see that person and no one else.
I think something that I encounter often even in conversations, even if they're not coaching conversations, is that the connection that two people have goes so beyond the words that they're saying to each other. It's not about the words, it's not about the language, it's about something much deeper than that, right? So for me, when you say backbone, the thing that comes up for me, or the thing that evokes for me, is stability and power and strength and confidence. Can you speak a little bit more to what you mean by masculine, feminine, backbone, compassion, heart, all these terms? Can you describe them just a little bit more?
If you look, just let's take the backbone. If we think about when we're confident, and when you are coaching from an embodied state, you are somehow ready. You somehow like a warrior, you don't like. It's about, I get so intentional with posture. And as I said, it's to make sure that even my neck, I would tilt the chin a little bit, elongate the back of the neck, and just picture as if someone is pulling you with a string, and yet you allow your shoulders to relax. And you, in a way, picture your vertebrae stacked. And as you do that, it's like you're saying to a body, Sawubona, where have you been? And then you feel that body welcoming you. And then you're able to inhabit that body and feel the body. And as we do that, we are somehow, if you think about the core competency to maintaining or ensuring a coaching mindset, it's all about that. And when you ensure that coaching mindset, it's not coming from here. It is the body that is the truth teller. I always say so. I might be saying to you, oh my God, I'm so excited. And then my tongue will boom. There's a knot there. That's not a sensation of excitement, which means there's some incongruence, because it is the body that would be really telling us what's happening in the moment. That's where even you find that the stress gets lodged in the body. And true movement, true being with the body, that's when you are able to dispel whatever residual stress that you have. And if you look at indigenous groups, there's a lot of dancing, stamping feet and all of that. As you do that, stamping feet, dancing yourself to a trance, which is what I love doing. You hit those drums, man. does to that, then you all of a sudden, even if you were feeling a little bit tight here or feeling some tension, it just dissipates. And then when we are in that, when we are really present with what is arising or falling in the moment, then we are not able to attach to a state, which is what we tend to do as coaches. It's like as your client is exploring whatever is exploring, there is that kind of performance linked to coaching. Is like, I want my client to experience me as a good coach. And then you think about what's the next powerful question I'm going to ask. And as you do that, you literally lose your presence. And what I have been practicing in my 20-something years of coaching, I've stopped taking notes when I'm coaching. Because I find taking notes takes you up here and you lose that connection with the client. And because we have limbic resonance, for instance, if I am grounded, I am centered, I am present, then we are able to sort of, through this limbic resonance, to bring that up in our clients as well. Then you start to realize that even the client starts now to apply mindfulness as they are sitting, instead of just thinking about the solution of the problem. They are able to be with the current state, with the present state in the coaching session.
That sounds amazing. That sounds aspirational. That sounds like the ideal state to be in when you're coaching, or when you're in conversation with someone. Like right now in this conversation, I feel like that is an ideal state, even for me to embody, to just be with you and just to listen to you and be focused completely on you. And rather than thinking about what I'm going to say next, what is the next smart thing that I can say that'll make me sound smart and look smart to the 108 people now who are listening in. But it's so easy to fall into that trap, Nobantu, to want to appear smart or to look smart to other people, or to keep seeking validation from other people. So perhaps the number one thing we need to do is to have our own sense of internal self-worth and validation, and not try to prove it to other people. How does one cultivate that sense of self and confidence and that backbone? How do we, aside from physically, physically, you must have even seen me from the start of the webinar, and now I have, erected in a bit. I am more mindful of my own posture, and I'm feeling that myself. How do we cultivate this on an ongoing basis? How do we keep practicing coming back to the person?
Have a regular practice. And by a regular practice, it's not a practice that can be prescribed by anyone. Find a practice that calms you, a practice that gets you to be fully in your body. For instance, I do breathing before a coaching session. I do meditation. I do walking meditation. I make sure even when I'm eating, I'm drinking this water. I am one with this water. I take a sip. Instead of gulping the water, just mindfully being aware of your stomach excreting the saliva, and just the awareness of that saliva merging with the water and the water going down your throat. Just having that moment of pause. So what we start to do is to start by pausing. And then as you pause, you breathe consciously. And as we breathe in consciously, that increases our supply to the brain of oxygen. And also that helps us to relax. So it's pause, relax. You tune in deeply. Attunement to yourself, attunement with the client. And as you tune in, you allow for emergence. And as you allow for emergence, your truth, and the truth is the state that is current and relevant in that moment, then you listen deeply. Then there's the emergence. And then your truth comes. And then you speak from the belly. You speak from the heart. And as you coaching, it's like, man, I've been with this person for the rest of my life. And as we do that, then we become one with the other. And even, you know what I find when I'm really tuned in, I would be knowing without interpreting where the client is at and what the client is going to say. And instead of being seduced by the content of what the client is bringing, because content can be so juicy and sexy and seductive, I stay with observing just in time nonverbal cues. And that's where, as a coach, you need to become curious. And as we become curious, we hit on the WHO, not the World Health Organization. Who is this client in front of me? I'm prepared to just stay in a manner of being curious, ask questions. As we do that, we even reveal the clients to themselves. Because it's like, as we are in conversation or connecting with others, we are not mindful of all these gestures. As soon as, for instance, I'm noticing that your voice has become softer. I'm noticing that your breathing rhythm has changed, become faster, slower. You sound like you are hyperventilating. What's up for you in this moment? What's happening now? And then as you do that, you'd find a client just that they start to think, oh, wow, this is this. Just to give you an example, I was working with one client. We worked for a whole year, and his main coaching goal was that he wanted to be noticed, and he felt he was being overlooked for promotion. And then it was still like in-person coaching. And I remember he had a backpack, and he would take his backpack, open it, put it down, take it again, open it, put it down. For the hour session, he did that 3 times. And I said to him, I noticed that within this session, you took your bag, opened it for 3 times, just left it at that. And then he went on and said, oh my God, that's why I'm being overlooked for promotion. They think I'm not serious. Just that observation and him making meaning of that to him as to how that maybe seemed to others. And it's amazing. Within no time, he was promoted because he was good at his job.
So it was his unconscious behaviors that he wasn't aware of that were holding him back.
Exactly. Because if we are really staying with the client, with the WHO, what we are doing, actually, think about the iceberg.
Think about
the iceberg, the tip of the iceberg.
The tip of the iceberg, okay.
What we're working with most of the time is that tip. And yet, below the water level mark, there is so much that makes the person. So with this somatic coaching or coaching from the roots and the heart, what it does, it lowers the water level so that more of the iceberg, it's not just the tip, we reveal more and more and more. And then it's like we take our clients, they go fishing. And then as we lower this water level, it's either they get sardines or there are times when they get sharks. And then, you know, our role then as coaches, it's whatever the client is getting, whether it's a shark, whether it's sardines, once we are present, we are grounded, we're centered, we are able to create that space of cultivating trust and safety. But if we freak out when we see this shark, they freak out too. It's like when you're a leader in a company. If a leader is falling, like, you know, everyone falls off the track.
Yeah. If a leader sees a problem in an organization and they face a challenge as though it's an insurmountable big issue or problem, then the team also kind of follows suit, right? That's what you're saying, that when we do get down to what's actually in the water, is it the sharks or is it the sardines? Is it you know, just a non-threatening, maybe even food resource, or is it a shark? Like, you get to then still stay with yourself and still stay with the presence and with calmness and with love and approach the situation that way. Can you give a little bit about love, about heart, about the heart aspect of things, about the feminine?
Don't get me going now, you know. I always
this is what we're here for, to get you going. I want to get you going.
When we coach, we have to love our clients, no matter what. We might not like them, yeah?
We might not like them, but we have to love them.
But loving them, we must. And for me, what helps me? When I get to coaching, I bring into my memory or into my heart someone I love. Could be my child, or I go back to the time when I first fell in love, you know? Those
I like how you said it like that. Fell in love, yeah. I think we can all relate to that.
As you see this person, then you start to see, wow, an amazing human being. This person has got hopes. This person has got aspirations like me. And I wish this person well. And my mantra, my Ubuntu coaching mantra is, as coaches, we have to see more, see the client in totality, see the whole of this person is. Curiosity helps us to see even more. Then the other one is hear more. As we have this mindfulness that we're applying to ourselves as to what's being evoked in you, and you become aware of what's happening in the client, what's happening in the client's environment, then that helps us with our unconscious bias in terms of listening or hearing what we want to hear, or having selective listening. This also helps us to be able to hear beyond the words, to be able to listen with the head, ears, heart, and the belly. And then as we listen to the belly, it's amazing because it's like this kind of, ball that's rolling. As we listen to that extent and with love, because the last part I find with me responds to the client. I might be hearing with the ears, I might be there invested with my heart. The last part that I respond from is my intuition. Because with the intuition, we connect to the essence, to the depth of who we are. And as such, whatever you say after what the client has said, what they're saying comes from the instinctual Nobantu, the instinctual coach. And then here's the thing that I'd like to share, that we do in our African culture, especially when a newborn baby's umbilical cord falls. We don't throw that. That umbilical cord is taken and buried in the garden. And what that does, that shows the unity as human beings we have with Mother Nature. And then when they ask you in my culture, where are you from? They would say, Inkaba yako ipi. Where was your umbilical cord buried?
Whoa. Wow. I have goosebumps now just hearing that. Beautiful. That also, it connects with the greeting that you taught us at the start of this webinar, right? It's about, I see you and I see your ancestors. There's so much in the culture about where you have come from and how you are connected with the human species in general. It's not just your family. It's like your ancestors, how you're connected to humanity, correct?
I was still going on with my mantra.
Oh my gosh.
But I was just, you know what I just appreciated that you do right now, Neha, which is something I would also love to encourage us as coaches to do. Those pauses. The silence in between the words. Because that's what actually brings the inside out, rather than responding from the outside in. So it's see more, hear more, love more. and then illuminate more so that we can ignite the sparks that are already there in our clients. And we be more through embodying this coaching mindset, through being present with our clients, through giving our clients not a single ounce of doubt that we're fully there with them. And the last part of the mantra is do less. It is not our job. It is our client's job. See more, hear more, love more, illuminate more, be more, and do less.
See more, hear more, love more, illuminate more, be more, and do less.
You know, as I am savoring this sacred silence that you are affording us, meaning everyone in this call, I am feeling right now an openness and expansiveness in my heart. There's a deep love that comes from this connection. And even if I'm not seeing the other people, I'm really feeling everybody that's here. And this is the kind of connection, the connection that connects us across waves. And you're able to bring the other person alive. Through this, you're able to help our clients to integrate the head, the heart, the belly, and their essence and soul.
This is something I'm feeling very deeply too, Nobantu. Thank you for helping me remember that. It's something you said at the start of the webinar, which is that it's not that you're practicing presence. I'm not sure what the beginning of that was. It's not that you're trying or you're practicing. It's the truth. It's the truth that you are connected and you are love and you are in love. You are love. And it's really powerful to remember that. I can see in our chat that everyone else is also seemingly loving the silence and feeling its power.
Yeah, the power of silence. And when you do allow the silence, you find you even tune in and connect to sounds you've never noticed. And it's amazing because when you are in this state, there could be a washing machine going on. There could be a vacuum cleaner going on. And you're able to just get those sounds to the back of the mind and you tune in to the silence within the noise. And that's what, for me, this brings, because what I've found, I'm able to even coach someone in a noisy environment. Because when I'm fully present with me and fully inhabiting my body, everything else fades away. Then what I'm able to listen to and tune into is what the client is bringing, which could be either verbal, non-verbal, or just silence.
I have a question from Jen. Nobantu, would you be up for entertaining a question at this point?
I wish we were on an open Zoom, because I would have loved to explore this with Jen.
Jen, would you like?
Jen is saying to some, silence could be scary.
Said in a previous question, what about the judges in their heads and nursing and rehearsing the what ifs? So how do you get that through to the client? Perhaps the question that Jen was asked previously, and now the follow-up is that silence can be scary for some and uncomfortable due to trauma. I'm going to see if there's a way to get Jen on as a Jen, would you like to come on? Let me ask you that first, and then I can explore if there's a way for us to, okay. Jen says yes. Could you try raising your hand, Jen? Jen?
Okay, yeah.
Mute.
Hand is
Go
up.
ahead.
Hi, Jen, how are you?
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I love your background picture.
Thank you. I love your style. It's very soothing.
Thank you for that. So tell me more about the silence and the scariness of silence.
So I had a client who I worked with for 2 years. She had a lot of limiting beliefs and a lot of trauma in her background, but she was also working with a therapist. And so I was working alongside the therapist to help her to move forward. And it took a lot of intuition on my part and a lot of creativity as well as curiosity, because that trauma really held her back for about a decade or so. And I was charged with sort of helping her to lift the fog. And every week she would do great, but then the judges would come and, just a cycle of trauma in her early childhood. And then her divorce that perpetuated the sort of nursing and rehearsing the same thing over and over. And I was silent. I'm a coach who sort of sits and waits to hear what the client has to say, because they have the answer. And she was so uncomfortable sitting in that silence. It almost was painful for her. And I know that, with some backgrounds, silence, like doing yoga or meditation, is really scary for some clients who have trauma. And so I'm curious to find out how do you help individuals like that embrace trauma, embrace silence. I'm sorry, when we are not therapists, we don't know the clinical way to sort of help them, because they do get into that trauma brain and they do sometimes spin out of cycle. Thankfully, she didn't, because I installed a safe place for her initially when we met. And so she knew me, she knew that I was safe, and she knew that I can contain her. But again, I'm not a therapist. Thankfully, she was working with one, but how do we help clients with that type of background? Thankfully, 2 years later, I could say she met all her goals and exceeded above and beyond, but it took a long time.
That's a good one. And I'm trained in trauma therapy, and I do not combine therapy with coaching. So when a client of mine presents a traumatic kind of issue, or there is some kind of mental issues or psychological issues that are unresolved, I ask or refer her to a therapist, and we pause the coaching. Because I would like the person to come to the coaching more resourced in terms of their trauma. Otherwise, we fall in the trap of not being able to hold someone like that with backbone. We end up coming with empathy to too much of it and compassion. And we do not challenge and stretch our clients enough. Remember, if you're thinking about therapy, therapy is like a crutch to the clients that come for therapy. But with coaching, I always call it's ensuring that we kiss our clients over the edge so that they can leap into whatever that is fearful. You don't kick them over the edge. You kiss them, but make sure that they do jump. So if I were you, I wouldn't have continued the coaching with the client at the same time with the therapy that was going on. And another thing I want to emphasize, thanks for raising that question. If, for instance, you find you're working with someone who has got a kind of depression of some sort, you cannot apply mindfulness.
Mm-hmm.
Because with mindfulness, we deepen the state, whether it's an emotional state that the person is feeling or whatever thoughts they are having or whatever sensations, we get them to be fully with those. And if someone is depressed in that moment and we deepen that, we are actually getting them more into depression. So hence, it's very important to separate coaching from therapy. How is that landing with you, Jen?
It's great. And that's what I learned in my coaching training. And I did refer her. In fact, she saw I was seeing a therapist before she came to me. And I said, we should pause this. She did pause it for about 6 months. And she did get some real intensive work. But I could see she was tethering on the edge of wanting to go further. Does that make sense? So when she came back, I reached out to her therapist and I said, can you tell me this client is ready for moving towards the next step? And the therapist said to me, she's done a lot of work. We've done a lot of work together. She's moved on beyond what I feel that she needs more intensive. She can start baby steps to coaching. And that's when I started to her. But her foundation was so eroded, with her mindset, that it was so ingrained that I think it wasn't so much trauma, but it's just her mindset that I had to sort of unpack for her. And eventually now she's a coach, which is amazing.
Wow, amazing. You did a good job there, Jen.
It was good work for me to see that you have to team up with other individuals and make sure it's aligned before you're able to see someone, to make sure that you can actually do the work to help them to transition to their next step. So I'm so grateful for her experience. And she gave me a glowing testimony, which is always great. But I said to her, I didn't do the work, you did it. You did it all. So she's now a coach helping other people. So that's awesome.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing that. And here's the thing, where silence with someone like that would really be scary, because silence is what helps us to pause and really be with what is. And if there's fear, if there is kind of touching whatever traumatic experience, not being a therapist then would bring that up. So usually what I do, if a client presents fear that is not really like depression, I get the client to move. We stand up, we do somatic awareness exercises, and Amy Cuddy is very good with postures, embodying certain states, because what happens, the body doesn't have a kind of, I would say, a mind that is intellectual. The body is actually what informs the mind of the state we're in. when I'm sitting like this, already the mind is picking up. There's tension here, and there would be tension. Hence, I would, in embodying a coaching mindset, ensure that my shoulders are relaxed. Ensure that my chin is a bit pointing down. Ensure that my jaw is dropping, slightly opening the mouth already relaxes the facial muscle. And if you're thinking about it, there was a research done by teachers, and what they did, the teachers were marking the students' work, and what they did, some of the teachers were just marking as they would be doing their job. And what they did with the control group, they got those teachers to put a pencil like between the lips, like this. And when you do that, your brain is saying, I'm smiling. From that nonverbal cue from the body. And as soon as that happens, that draws you deep to your heart. And they found out those that had pencils in their mouths marked the students favorably than those who did not.
Nobantu, there's a question coming up for me through this exploration. And the question is, how do you know to differentiate between needing to be in the silence with someone and having them look deeper? And like in Jen's case, there was a history of therapy with this person. There was a therapist to work with, but like you said, if somebody's like prone to depression or is depressed, they shouldn't be using mindfulness, or we shouldn't be mindfulness with them. How do we know? How do we discern? And I mean, don't we all feel depressed from time to time? Don't we all have a proclivity towards that? And when is it okay to push? When, yeah.
It's all about tuning in with the client. When you're coaching from the roots, you do not listen to just the words of what the client is saying. You're fully present with them. You feel their state. You feel their state like it's your state. You become one with the client. You become an extension of each other. And then when you are that, or when I find them like that, I can't explain what happens, but I would appeal to my body to come from its sacredness and bring about what's required in the moment, what's required in the situation. And I love, last week I was coaching someone in London. For some reason, we were connected, and this is a person who really comes from this intellectual kind of intelligence, and she cried. And being English, she was so ashamed of crying. All she focused on was apologizing for crying. So knowing, as you work, because what she said, in this session, for the first time in my life, I was able to see me. I always have been avoiding to see me. I feel I see me. So it's that thing I was saying in the beginning. Through this, you actually reveal the client to themselves. They get to fall in love all over again with themselves now, hey? It's like, and as they fall in love with themselves, they also bring magic to the ones they're working with.
There's a question from Kawal Kapoor. This is an interesting one because he says, does holding the hand of the client or touching the client for a better connection after taking permission of the client, is that acceptable? I think so. This is an interesting question. Please,
It is. You know what I find myself, I do not do. I'd be sitting with the client face to face, and they would be having an emotional moment, and they start crying. For some reason, my body tells me, don't stand up and hug them. Because I want them to give themselves permission to cry, because being sad is part of who we are. Emotions are who we are. So I don't see anything wrong with holding hands. I really don't. Especially if something it's emerging in you, it's come, you don't think about, okay, now, let me love more. Let me hold a hand and love more. No. There's gonna be something that tells you this moment now is calling for a human touch. Eh?
I love that you said that distinction of, is this moment calling for human touch, or is this moment for them to explore their grief and sadness that is already coming up? We don't, obviously our instinct, we are there to help people. We want to be coaches because we want to help people. And that's intentionality come from, we want to help people. So when we see them in pain, it's natural to want to take that pain away through giving them a hug or touching them, but maybe sometimes it's important to allow them to write it out themselves.
Exactly. And that's an important point you are raising, because as coaches, we're not rescuers. We want to move our clients from the dreaded triangle to the empowerment triangle. And not being rescuers doesn't mean you are not compassionate. I saw one question that asked whether compassion, what is it called?
Does compassion
from the coach facilitate empowerment of the client? Oh, yes. Yes, it does. But you're not taking over. Compassion is the ability to hold that space, the ability to become aware fully of what the client is going through, and just gently, cuddling them to be able to deal with that. It is not yours. It's not taking it from them. But we become this catalyst for them to go beyond the stuckness. And that's why, for me, it becomes so critical as we are coaching to really use the client's own language. Make sure you pick up those metaphors they are bringing and go with the metaphors, and you'd be surprised by the richness that comes out of that coaching session.
Siddhi also says, also whose need is it to touch, right? Like, is it the client who needs your touch, or is it you who?
I love that. Yes.
Love it. That's awesome. That's wonderful. Yeah. Nazima
And,
says presence. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Nobantu, please go ahead.
what I was saying, which is something the ICF does not really promote, but I do it in my coaching and I find it really makes me to also be vulnerable as a coach and really be with the client. I share from time to time. As the client is doing their work, I share what's being evoked in me. Just sharing what's happening without taking it away from the client and making it to be about you as a coach.
What does that look like? What's an example of that? I mean, how do we do that without making our client feel like we are also now giving them our feelings?
So I would say, for instance, if they have had this insight, for instance, I would say, wow, I'm feeling the excitement as well in my chest. If they are presenting maybe something that is painful and that I'm feeling as well, I would just be sharing when I'm feeling also a tightness in my chest. Or if, for instance, they come with an insight, they say, wow, I'm learning from that. Something I never thought of.
That's helpful. It's beautiful. And I've now that you mention it, I'm thinking of how you have been actually doing that throughout this conversation as well. You've been talking about how you're feeling in your body, openness in your chest, and all these different things. And it's great. It's like the examples are right there. Okay, Nazima said, grounded presence and holding a client can happen without physical touch. I think it's important to consider. Yes, of course, we want to abide by any ethical constraints that we do have, or rules that we have set out, or guidelines that are there under the body of practice under which we're practicing, for sure. But I think also that we do end up developing our own frameworks, right?
Exactly.
Coaching is
what's your signature presence as a coach?
What's your signature presence as a coach? It's a great question for all of us to reflect on. We are beyond time. I think we do need to wrap up the session, but I really think that is a beautiful place for us to close out the session. And Nobantu, maybe we can have you back here, because this was absolutely illuminating, and I feel like I have this feeling of I don't want this to end, and
illuminate more.
Illuminate more, yes, please. So what do you say, everyone? We have Nobantu back sometime. All the beautiful comments pouring in. Everyone feels refreshed, recharged. People are saying it's a powerful session. Thank you everyone for joining us, for bringing your energy, your beautiful energy into the space, and for participating. For even if you didn't participate, if you were just watching and just feeling us and just listening to us, thank you for that. Thank you for your presence. And thank you so much, Nobantu, for your presence, for being here, for teaching us, for guiding us, for illuminating us, for loving us, and for seeing us and hearing us. It's truly, and it's been an honor to talk to you today. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Take care, everyone. Have a beautiful day, nice evening, nice afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you.